Marina came home after a grueling night shift and found her teenage son surrounded by a mafia boss and 20 armed men in her driveway. The man said her son had accidentally hacked into something dangerous, and people were coming to kill him. What she didn't know, this stranger owed her family a debt so deep, he was willing to die to keep them safe. Marina's hands wouldn't stop shaking on the steering wheel. 16 hours. That's how long her shift at County General had stretched tonight. 2 trauma cases, 1 cardiac arrest, and a belligerent drunk who'd tried to bite her when she'd inserted his 4. Her scrubs smelled like antiseptic and sweat, and all she wanted was to collapse into bed for 4 hours before Eli needed to be driven to school. She turned onto Maple Street at 6:47 a.m., the sky still dark with that pre-dawn thickness that made everything look gray and unreal. Her neighborhood was the kind of quiet where people kept their heads down and their doors locked. Not terrible, not great. Just affordable for a single mom on a nurse's salary. But something was wrong. 3 black SUVs sat in her driveway. Not parked, positioned. Like they were blocking something. Their headlights were off, but the interior lights glowed, and she could see silhouettes moving inside. Marina's foot hit the brake, so hard her coffee tumbled into the footwell. Men stood outside her house. Not just a few. She counted quickly, 15, maybe 20, all wearing dark clothing. Some had their hands in their jacket pockets in that particular way that made her think of the gunshot victims she'd treated in the ER. The ones who came in with their friends still wearing their pieces. And there, on her front steps, frozen like a deer in headlights, was Eli. Her son. Her 16-year-old baby, who was supposed to be asleep in his room. Marina's training kicked in before her panic could. She grabbed her phone, ready to dial 911, when a man stepped directly in front of her Honda Civic. He didn't rush, didn't shout, just walked into her headlight beams with his hands visible, empty, raised slightly, as if to say, "I'm not a threat," which was ridiculous because everything about this screamed threat. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with salt and pepper hair slicked back and a face that looked carved from stone. Expensive suit under a long black coat. The kind of coat that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Marina's finger hovered over the 9 on her phone screen. The man made a small gesture. Palm down. Fingers spread. Wait. Every instinct told her to floor it, to reverse, to scream. But Eli was right there, 30 feet away, surrounded by men who could grab him before she could even get the car in reverse. The man walked to her driver's side window. She didn't roll it down. He knocked. 2 soft taps. Polite, almost. "Miss Hale," he said, his voice muffled through the glass but clear enough. "My name is Rocco Valtieri. I need 60 seconds of your time, and then you can call whoever you want." Marina's blood went cold. Valtieri. She'd heard that name. 6 months ago, the news had been full of it. Federal investigation. Organized crime. A trial that ended in a mistrial after 3 witnesses recanted their testimony. The reporters had stopped just short of calling him a mob boss, but everyone knew what the careful language meant. "Get away from my car," Marina said, loud enough for her voice to carry through the window. "I'm calling the police." "Your son accessed something he shouldn't have," Valtieri said. His tone didn't change, still calm, still measured. 3 nights ago. A server he thought was for a game. It wasn't. Marina's hand tightened on her phone. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I know you don't." Valtieri glanced back at Eli, who was now being watched by 2 men in leather jackets. Not grabbed. Not touched. Just watched. But the people who own that server? They know. And they're not coming to talk. Marina's mind raced. Eli had been on his computer a lot lately. He was always on his computer, coding, gaming, doing whatever teenage boys did in their digital world she barely understood. But hacking? No. Eli was a good kid. Straight as, never in trouble, still said, "Yes, ma'am," when she asked him to do his chores. "You have 10 seconds before I call 911, Marina said. Valtieri reached into his coat. Marina's breath caught. But what he pulled out wasn't a gun. It was a manila folder, bent at the corners. He pressed it against her window. Inside, visible through the plastic sleeve, was a photograph. Marina's entire world tilted. It was Nathan, her brother, in his police uniform, grinning that cocky grin he'd always had, the one that made their mother say he was too handsome for his own good. The photo was old, maybe 8 years. Taken before. Officer Nathan Hale, Valtieri said quietly. Died in the line of duty, April 2017. They told you it was a shootout with a robbery suspect. Marina's throat closed up. Don't you dare. He died taking a bullet meant for my daughter, Valtieri interrupted. His voice dropped, and for the first time, she heard something other than calm in it. Something that might have been grief. Her name is Luca. She was 14. Your brother threw himself between her and a shooter who wanted to send me a message. He didn't know her.
Didn't know me.
He just acted. The photo blurred as Marina's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. I owe your family a debt, Valtieri said. One I can never repay. But right now, Ms. Hale, your son is about to be killed for something he did by accident, and the only reason those men haven't already come for him is because I got here first. Marina looked past him, at the SUVs, at the men standing in formation around her property, like some kind of human shield. You're saying you're here to protect us? She whispered. I'm saying, Valtieri replied, that you and your boy have about 12 hours before the Juarez cartel sends a kill team to this address. Maybe less. He tapped the folder against her window again. So you can call the police and wait for them to show up in 20 minutes and fill out a report that won't stop what's coming. Or you can roll down this window, listen to what I have to say, and maybe we all live through the week. Marina stared at her son. Eli's face was pale in the porch light, his eyes wide and terrified. She rolled down the window.
Talk, she said.
Valtieri nodded. Smart woman. Your brother raised you right. My brother didn't raise me, Marina snapped. He was my little brother. Now tell me what the hell is happening before I change my mind. For the first time, something that might have been a smile crossed Valtieri's face. 3 nights ago, he began, your son hacked into a server that belonged to the Juarez cartel's financial network. Marina's living room had never felt this small. Rocco Valtieri sat in her worn armchair like he owned it, his coat draped over the back, his hands folded calmly in his lap. 2 of his men stood by the front door, silent as statues. Another was in the kitchen, checking the back entrance. Eli sat next to Marina on the couch, his knee bouncing so fast it shook the cushions. She put her hand on his leg to still it, but her own hands were trembling. Start from the beginning, Marina said. Her nurse voice, the one she used with panicking patients. Firm, steady, even though her heart was hammering. And tell me the truth. Valtieri pulled out a second folder. This one was thicker, stuffed with papers and photographs. He laid it on the coffee table between them like evidence at a trial. April 14th, 2017, he said. You were told your brother responded to a robbery at a convenience store on 5th and Madison. That he exchanged fire with a suspect and was killed. The shooter was never found. Marina's jaw tightened. I know what I was told. It was a lie. Valtieri opened the folder. The first photo showed a different scene, not a convenience store, but a parking garage. Police tape, evidence markers, blood on concrete. Nathan was off duty that night. He was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Or the right place, depending on how you look at it. He slid another photo forward. A teenage girl with dark hair and tear-streaked face, wrapped in a blanket, talking to police officers. My daughter, Luca, Valtieri said, and his voice changed.
Softer.
She was 14. I'd sent her to a music lesson, violin, downtown. I thought she'd be safe. I was wrong. What does this have to do with Nathan? Marina asked. A rival family wanted to hurt me, Valtieri continued. The Corsinos. They'd been looking for an opening for months. They found out about Luca's lesson, about the parking garage where her instructor worked. They sent 2 men. Eli stopped bouncing. Even in his fear, he was listening. Nathan was parked 3 spaces away, Valtieri said, getting coffee before his night shift. He heard my daughter scream. The shooters had already grabbed her, were dragging her toward a van. Nathan didn't hesitate. Didn't call for backup. Didn't identify himself. He just ran. Valtieri's hands tightened slightly, the only crack in his composure. He shot one of them in the leg.
Grabbed Luca.
Pushed her behind a concrete pillar. The second shooter fired 6 rounds. Nathan took 3 of them, chest, shoulder, neck. He died before the ambulance arrived. Marina felt like she couldn't breathe. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because your brother saved the daughter of a mafia boss, Valtieri said bluntly. The police couldn't make that connection public without exposing their own corruption. Half the precinct was on the Corsino payroll. So they buried it, called it a random robbery, gave him a hero's funeral, and moved on. But you didn't, Marina whispered. No, Valtieri's eyes met hers. I swore on my daughter's life that I would never forget Nathan Hale. That if his family ever needed anything, I would be there. No questions.
No limits.
He gestured to Eli. Now his nephew needs me. Eli's voice cracked. I didn't mean to do anything wrong.
I swear, Mom.
I was just... Tell her, Valtieri said, not unkindly. Eli's words came out in a rush. There's this game server, right? Private. Invitation only. My friend Devin told me about it. He said they had this modded version of Counter-Strike that was insane. So I used a proxy to get in, just to check it out. I didn't steal anything. I didn't even download anything. But you got in, Valtieri said. Yeah, but it was easy. Like, way too easy. Eli ran his hands through his hair. The security was garbage. I thought maybe it was a honeypot or something, so I backed out after like 2 minutes. Valtieri pulled out a printed screenshot. Marina didn't understand most of it. Strings of code, file directories, encrypted folders. This is what you accessed, Valtieri said. It wasn't a game server. The Juarez cartel uses gaming networks as a front for their financial communications. Encrypted ledgers, money transfers, shell companies. Everything they need to move millions across borders without detection. Marina's stomach dropped.
Milio?
When your son bypassed their security, he triggered an automatic alert. They reviewed the logs, traced his IP back to this address, and assumed he was either a Fed or a rival trying to steal their accounts. Valtieri's expression hardened. The cartel doesn't ask questions, Ms. Hale. They eliminate threats. Oh my God, Marina breathed.
She turned to Eli.
Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know. Eli's eyes were wet. I thought it was just a stupid server. I didn't know his voice broke.
Mom, I'm sorry.
Marina pulled him close, her mind spinning. So, what now? We go to the police? FBI. The police can't protect you from what's coming, Valtieri said. The cartel has already put a price on Eli's head. $200,000. By now, every bounty hunter and hired gun between here and the Mexican border knows his face. Then what?
Marina demanded.
What are you saying? Valtieri stood. I'm saying you pack a bag. Both of you.
Right now.
My men will take you somewhere safe while I figure out how to fix this. Fix this? How do you fix? The window exploded. Glass shattered inward as gunfire erupted from the street. Valtieri's men moved instantly, throwing themselves over Marina and Eli as bullets chewed through the walls. Go! Valtieri roared. Back door. Now! Marina's ears were ringing. Plastered dust filled her lungs as one of Valtieri's men, a stocky guy with a buzz cut, grabbed her arm and hauled her off the couch. Eli stumbled beside her, his eyes wild with terror. Mom, I've got you. Marina grabbed his hand, squeezing so hard her knuckles went white. More gunfire. The front window was gone completely now, just jagged teeth of glass clinging to the frame. She could hear men shouting outside, not Valtieri's men. Different voices. Accented. Angry. Kitchen. Buzz cut shoved them forward. Don't stop. Don't look back. They ran. Marina's nursing clogs slipped on the hardwood floor. Behind them, she heard Valtieri shouting orders, the distinctive crack of return fire. Her mind couldn't process it. This was her house. Her safe place. The home she'd scraped together after Eli's father left, where she'd raised her son, where they'd had breakfast just yesterday morning. Now it was a war zone. They burst into the kitchen. Another of Valtieri's men stood by the back door, a gun in his hand that looked like something from an action movie. He didn't even glance at them, just yanked the door open. Armored vehicle, 30 feet. Go, go, go. The backyard was chaos. Marina saw muzzle flashes from the street, heard the metallic ping of bullets hitting the SUVs. One of the black vehicles was already smoking, its windshield spiderwebbed with cracks. A different SUV, this one even bigger, with tires that looked like they belonged on a military truck, sat idling in her neighbor's yard. The back door was open. Run! Buzz Cut pushed her between the shoulder blades. Marina ran. Eli was faster, younger, his sneakers finding traction where her clogs couldn't. She kicked them off mid-stride, her socks immediately soaking through on the wet grass. 20 feet. 15. She could see someone in the driver's seat, a woman with short dark hair. Behind them, an explosion. The shockwave knocked Marina forward. She hit the ground hard, her palms scraping across gravel. Eli screamed her name. Then hands were on her. Buzz Cut again, lifting her like she weighed nothing, throwing her toward the SUV. Get in! Get in! Marina scrambled into the back seat. Eli dove in after her. Buzz Cut followed, slamming the door so hard the whole vehicle shook. Go, Angela! The woman floored it. The SUV lurched forward, tires chewing through the neighbor's flower bed, crashing through a fence. Marina was thrown against Eli, both of them tangled together in the back seat as the vehicle bounced violently over curbs and lawn. Stay down, Buzz Cut ordered, pushing their heads below the window line. More gunfire. Marina heard it pinging off the exterior, dull thuds that would have been deafening if not for the ringing still in her ears. The windows were dark, tinted so heavily she couldn't see out, but they weren't shattering. Bulletproof. Where's Valtieri? Angela called from the front. Right behind us, Buzz Cut said. He was on his phone. Boss, you copy? We've got the packages. Marina couldn't hear the response, but Buzz Cut nodded. Roger. We're headed to the docks. Docks. Marina's voice came out hoarse. What docks? Safe route, Angela said, taking a turn so hard Marina slid across the leather seat. They'll expect us to go inland. We're going to the coast. Eli was shaking. Not just his hands, his whole body, like he was freezing. Marina wrapped her arms around him, pulling him close. He was too big for this now, nearly as tall as her, but he buried his face in her shoulder like he was 5 years old again. It's okay, she whispered, knowing it wasn't. It's okay, baby, I've got you.
I am sorry, Elizabeth.
Mom, I'm so sorry I didn't.
Sure.
Not your fault. She kissed the top of his head, tasting ash and dust. Not your fault. The SUV's motion smoothed out. They were on a real road now, accelerating fast. Marina risked lifting her head enough to see out the front windshield. Dawn was breaking, the sky turning that pale blue that usually meant a new day, a fresh start. Her house was burning. She could see the orange glow in the rearview mirror, smoke rising in a thick black column. Everything. Their photo albums. Eli's baby blanket. Nathan's police badge that she'd kept in her jewelry box.
Gone.
Your neighbor's house caught fire too, Angela said quietly, reading her mind. My people already called it in. Fire department's en route. No casualties, your neighbors weren't home. Small miracles, Marina said bitterly. Buzz Cut's phone buzzed. He listened, then turned to them. Boss is clear. He's taking a different route, but he'll meet us at the compound. What compound?
Marina demanded.
Where are you taking us? Somewhere the cartel can't touch you, Buzz Cut said. Somewhere we can figure this out. Eli lifted his head, his face blotchy and wet. I didn't steal anything. I swear I didn't. I just looked. Doesn't matter what you did, kid, Buzz Cut said, not unkindly. Matters what they think you did. And they think you copied their entire financial network. But I didn't. I know, Buzz Cut met Marina's eyes. That's the problem. The truth doesn't matter to the cartel. Only the threat. And right now, your son is the biggest threat they've seen in years. Marina held Eli tighter as the SUV carried them away from everything they'd ever known, toward a future she couldn't even begin to imagine. The sky kept getting lighter. The world kept turning. And somewhere behind them, men with guns were already planning their next move. The compound sat on a cliff overlooking the Pacific, hidden behind a wall of cypress trees that looked like they'd been growing for 100 years. Marina had lost track of time during the drive. 2 hours, maybe 3. They'd switched vehicles twice, taken back roads through farmland, passed through a town so small it didn't even have a stoplight. Now the SUV pulled through iron gates that closed automatically behind them, and Marina got her first look at where Rocco Valtieri was taking them. It wasn't what she expected. Not some dark, industrial warehouse. Not a compound that screamed mob hideout. Instead, it looked like one of those coastal estates she'd seen in magazines, modern architecture, lots of glass and natural wood, landscaping that probably cost more than her annual salary. Out, Angela said, but her tone was softer now. Almost gentle. Marina's legs were stiff when she climbed out. Eli stayed close to her side, his hand finding hers again. He hadn't let go of her for more than a few seconds since they'd fled the house. The air smelled like salt and pine. Gulls cried overhead. If it weren't for the armed men patrolling the perimeter, she counted 6 just from where she stood, it could have been a vacation rental. Miss Hale. A woman emerged from the main house. Late 20s, dressed in slacks and a crisp white blouse, dark hair pulled back in a professional bun. She carried herself like someone used to being in charge, shoulders back, chin up, direct eye contact. "I'm Luca Valtieri," she said, extending her hand. "My father will be here within the hour. In the meantime, I need to ask you and your son some questions." Marina stared at her. This was the 14-year-old girl from the photo, the one Nathan had died for. "You're a lawyer now," Marina said. It wasn't a question. She could see it in the way Luca carried herself, the legal pad tucked under her arm, the intelligent assessment in her eyes. Criminal defense attorney, yes, Luca's expression softened slightly. "I'm sorry we're meeting like this. Your brother."
Later, Marina interrupted.
She couldn't talk about Nathan right now. If she started, she'd fall apart, and she needed to stay strong for Eli. "You said you have questions." Luca nodded, professional mask back in place. "Inside, we've set up a secure room." The interior was just as impressive as the exterior. High ceilings, ocean views, furniture that looked expensive but comfortable. But Marina barely noticed. She was too focused on the men stationed at every entrance, the security cameras in the corners, the laptop set up on the dining table showing multiple video feeds. Luca led them to a study with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a massive oak desk. She gestured to a leather couch. "Please sit. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee? Food?" "Answers," Marina said flatly. "I want answers." Fair. Luca sat across from them, opening her legal pad. She looked at Eli. "I need you to walk me through exactly what you did 3 nights ago. Every detail, no matter how small." Eli swallowed hard. Okay. My friend Devin, he's into coding like me. He told me about this private server at lunch. Said it had this custom Counter-Strike mod that was supposed to be incredible. Military-grade graphics, he said. "Did Devin give you access credentials?" Luca asked.
No.
"He just gave me the IP address and said I'd need to bypass the security. I thought it was like a challenge, you know? Like those CTF competitions." "CTF?" Marina asked. "Capture the flag," Luca explained. "Hacking competitions. Usually legal and educational." She turned back to Eli. "What did you use to bypass the security?" Eli's face flushed. "Devin gave me this USB drive. He said it was a tool he'd found online. A plug-and-play thing. I plugged it into my Chromebook, ran the executable, and it got me in." Luca's pen stopped moving. "You still have this USB?"
No.
"I gave it back to Devin the next day." "Describe it." "Just a regular flash drive. Black. Had some scratches on it. There was a sticker, like a skull with binary code." Luca and Angela exchanged a look that Marina didn't like. "What?"
Marina demanded.
What does that mean? It means, Lucas said slowly, that your son didn't just stumble into the cartel server. He used military-grade malware. The kind that's only available on very specific dark web marketplaces.
But I didn't know that.
Eli's voice cracked. Devin said it was just a tool. I believe you, Lucas said. But here's the problem. That USB, that specific tool, bypassed security that should have been impossible to breach. It copied encryption keys, downloaded file directories, and left a signature in the logs that made it look like a professional intelligence operation. Marina felt sick. You're saying they think Eli is a spy? Or working for one, Luca confirmed. The Juarez cartel doesn't make mistakes like that in their security. Someone would have had to pay serious money for that malware. 6 figures minimum. I didn't pay anything.
Eli protester.
Devin just gave it to me. Where did Devin get it? Luca asked. I don't know. He didn't say. Angela stepped forward. I'll track down the friend. Get that USB if it still exists. Luca nodded, then turned back to Marina and Eli. There's something else you need to understand. Even if we prove Eli's innocence, even if we can demonstrate this was an accident, it doesn't matter. The cartel can't afford to assume it was random. They have to treat this as an active threat. So, what are you saying?
Marina whispered.
I'm saying the only way to keep you safe is to either prove who really targeted them, or Luca hesitated, or give them something bigger to worry about. The study door opened. Rocco Valtieri walked in, his suit jacket torn, a bandage visible on his neck. The house is gone, he said without preamble. They firebombed it after we left. They wanted to make sure nothing survived. His eyes found Eli. They're not looking for evidence, son. They're looking for you. Valtieri left that same afternoon. Marina watched from the study window as he climbed into a black town car, 3 SUVs forming an escort. Lucas stood beside her, arms crossed. Where's he going? Marina asked. To keep you alive, Lucas said simply. There are rules in my father's world. Protocols. When something like this happens, when territories get crossed, when blood might be spilled, the families talk first. Families? The 5 major organizations on the West Coast, Luca's jaw tightened. My father has to answer for harboring you and Eli. Has to justify why he's risking war with a Mexican cartel over a teenager who hacked their accounts. Marina turned from the window. Will they make him give us up? Luca didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was careful. My father doesn't bend easily. But he's not stupid either. If the council decides you're not worth the cost, she didn't finish. She didn't have to. The meeting took place in a luxury hotel suite 2 states away, Nevada, in a casino hotel where everyone minded their own business and cameras had convenient blind spots. Rocco arrived with only 2 men. A show of respect, not strength. The suite's living room had been cleared of furniture except for a large round table. 3 men were already seated. Rocco recognized them all. Vincent Calabrese, Boston family, moved west 5 years ago. Gray beard, eyes like a shark. David Chun controlled the ports from San Francisco to Seattle. Young for his position, only 40, but vicious when necessary. Marcus Webb, the only black man at the table, ran operations through Las Vegas and handled all the family's legitimate businesses. He wore a 3-piece suit and gold cufflinks. Rocco, Vincent said, his Boston accent still thick after decades in California. You're late. Traffic. Rocco sat, deliberately taking his time. What's this about? Don't insult us, Chin said coldly. You know exactly what this is about. You're harboring a hacker who breached the Juarez cartel's financial network. You've got 20 armed men at a coastal property that's supposed to be a retirement investment. And you've put all of us at risk. I've put no one at risk. The Juarez cartel has already reached out, Webb said, his voice measured and calm. Always the diplomat. They want the boy. They've offered to overlook your interference if you hand him over within 48 hours.
No retaliation.
Clean slate. Rocco met each man's eyes in turn.
No.
Vincent's fist hit the table. You'd start a war over some punk kid who is stupid enough to hack a cartel? I'd honor a debt, Rocco said flatly. The boy's uncle died saving my daughter's life. Took 3 bullets meant for her. That creates an obligation. Your daughter's a lawyer now, not a mob princess, Chin said. She doesn't need protection from a debt 8 years old. Let it go. Would you? Rocco leaned forward. If someone died for your child, would you let it go? Silence. The boy didn't steal anything, Rocco continued. He accessed their server by accident. Used a tool he didn't understand. He's not a threat. The cartel thinks he is, Vincent interrupted. That's all that matters. They think he copied their accounts. Whether he did or didn't is irrelevant. Then we prove he didn't.
How?
Webb asked. You bring him to them? Let them interrogate him? They'll torture that kid until he admits to things he never did, then kill him anyway. Rocco's hands clenched under the table. There's an old rule, older than any of us. Debt of blood outweighs debt of money. The boy's uncle died protecting what was mine. That makes the boy mine to protect. That rule, Chin said coldly, doesn't apply when honoring it puts all 5 families at risk. The Juarez cartel moves $50 million worth of product through our territories every month. They use our ports, our trucks, our distribution networks. If we go to war with them over one teenager, we won't go to war, Rocco said. Then give them the boy.
No.
The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Vincent stood, his chair scraping back. You're being unreasonable, Rocco. Emotional. That's not like you. I'm being honorable, Rocco corrected. Something we used to value. Honor doesn't pay the bills, Chin snapped. Marcus Webb raised a hand, silencing them both. He studied Rocco for a long moment. What aren't you telling us? Rocco smiled slightly. Webb was always the smartest man in the room. The cartel's already sent kill teams, Rocco said. 3 that I know of. 1 hit the boy's house this morning. The other 2 are in the wind, hunting. If I give up the boy now, it won't stop anything. The cartel's committed. They've put out a $200,000 bounty. Every freelancer and mercenary from here to Mexico City is already looking. Vincent's face went pale. You're saying? I'm saying war is already here, Rocco finished. The only question is whether we fight it together or let them pick us off one by one. That's insane, Chin said. We haven't confirmed. The suite's door exploded inward. Men in tactical gear poured through, 6 of them, rifles raised. Not cartel. Their gear was too professional. Too military. One of them locked eyes with Rocco. Ignacio Corvera sends his regards, the man said in accented English. The meeting is over. All of you are dead. Rocco's hand moved to his jacket. Marcus Webb was faster. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. The lead assassin went down, blood spraying across the carpet. Then everything turned to chaos. Marina jumped at the sound of her phone buzzing. She'd been staring at the ocean for the past hour, watching the waves crash against the rocks below the compound, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 12 hours. The text was from Luca. Dad's fine. Complications. Back tomorrow. Stay inside. Complications. Marina closed her eyes. In Valtieri's world, that probably meant bodies.
Mom.
Eli stood in the doorway of the bedroom they'd been given. He looked smaller somehow, younger than 16. His eyes were red-rimmed, and she realized he'd been crying. Come here, Marina opened her arms, and he crossed the room, collapsing onto the bed beside her. She held him like she used to when he was little, when nightmares woke him up and only she could make the monsters go away. Except these monsters were real. I need to tell you something, Eli whispered. About Devin. About the USB. Marina pulled back to look at him. What about it? Devin didn't just find it online. Eli's voice was shaking. He bought it. At school. From this kid named Marcus. Not Marcus like a first name, everyone just calls him that. He deals stuff. Fake IDs, test answers, bootleg software. Why didn't you tell Luca this? Because I was scared. Tears spilled down Eli's cheeks. Mom, if I tell them I knew Devin bought it from a dealer, it makes it sound like I knew it was illegal. Like I knew what I was doing. Marina cupped his face. Baby, listen to me. The only way we get through this is with the truth. All of it. Do you understand? Before Eli could answer, there was a knock at the door. Luca entered, a laptop under her arm and Angela right behind her. We need to talk.
Now.
They gathered in the study again. Luca set up the laptop on the desk, pulling up what looked like surveillance footage. Devin Chen, Luca said, and Marina's stomach dropped at the last name, the same as one of the men at her father's meeting. 15 years old. Son of David Chen, who runs port operations for 3 West Coast families, including ours. Wait, Marina said. Devin's father is Mafia, Luca confirmed. Mid-level leadership. David probably doesn't even know his son is involved in this. But it explains how Devin got access to military-grade malware. She clicked to a different screen, a photograph of a USB drive. Black, scratched, with a skull sticker. This is what your son used, Luca said. It's called a phantom key. Developed by the NSA, stolen by a contractor 3 years ago, sold on the dark web for anywhere between $200,000 and $500,000. It's designed to bypass nearly any security system and leave minimal traces. Eli's face went white. But Devin sold it to me for $50. The room went silent. Say that again, Lucas said slowly. He sold it to me for $50, Eli repeated. I thought it was just some hacking tool. He said it was for practice for learning penetration testing. I paid him in cash at lunch. Angela swore under her breath. Luca's fingers flew across the keyboard. Who did Devin buy it from?
Luca demanded.
A kid at school. Everyone calls him Marcus. I don't know his real name. Eli was talking faster now, the words tumbling out. He's a senior. Sells stuff out of his locker. Devin said Marcus had a bunch of them, like a whole collection of drives. Luca and Angela locked eyes. This wasn't an accident, Angela said. No, Luca's expression was grim. Someone planted these drives at a high school. Someone who knew curious kids would use them. Someone who wanted exactly this to happen. Marina's head was spinning.
Why?
Why would someone set up teenagers to hack a cartel? To start a war, Luca said. Think about it. A mafia boss's resource, a kid connected to David Chen, accidentally breaches the Juarez cartel security. The cartel retaliates. My father protects the boy because of a blood debt. The families are forced to choose sides. And in the chaos, someone else makes their move, Angela finished. While everyone's focused on the cartel war, a third party sweeps in and takes territory. Marina felt sick. You're saying my son was used as bait. We all were, Luca said. She pulled up another window, a map with red markers. I've been tracking the kill teams the cartel sent. Their movements don't make sense. They're too slow, too visible. It's like they want to be seen. Because someone's watching, Angela said, waiting to see how we respond. Eli's voice was small. What about Devin? Is he safe? Luca's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. No, she whispered. Angela, we need units at Cedar Hills Hospital.
Now.
What happened?
Marina demanded.
Luca turned the phone around. A news alert. Teenager hospitalized after home invasion. Authorities investigating possible gang activity. Devin Chen was attacked 2 hours ago, Luca said. They tortured him. His mother came home and found him in the garage. He's in critical condition. Eli made a sound like he'd been punched.
No. 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 No.
They wanted access codes, Luca continued, reading from her phone. Kept asking him about passwords, about what Eli Hale stole. His mother told police they kept screaming that Devin knew where the money was. Marina grabbed Eli before he could collapse. It's not your fault. Do you hear me? It's not your fault. But Eli was sobbing, his whole body shaking. He gave me the drive. I'm the one who used it. I should have known. I should have. You should have been safe, Luca interrupted, her voice fierce. You're a kid. You should have been able to go to school and play games and make mistakes without cartels and mercenaries trying to kill you. None of this is on you. Angela's phone rang. She answered, listened, then hung up. Your father's convoy was hit, she told Luca. He's alive, but 2 of our men are dead. Marcus Webb is missing. Rocco arrived back at the compound just after midnight, blood on his shirt and fury in his eyes. Marina had been sitting in the kitchen, unable to sleep, when the convoy pulled up. She watched through the window as Rocco climbed out of the SUV, moving stiffly. His left arm was in a makeshift sling, and there was a fresh cut across his temple. Luca ran out to meet him. Marina couldn't hear their conversation, but she saw the way Luca's shoulders tensed, the way Rocco's hand gripped his daughter's shoulder like he needed to confirm she was real. Then his eyes found Marina through the window. He came inside alone, leaving his men to secure the perimeter. In the harsh kitchen light, he looked older than he had that morning. Tired. Almost vulnerable. Your son asleep? He asked.
Marina nodded.
Finally, Luca gave him something to help.
He was.
He couldn't stop shaking. His friend, still critical. They have him in a medically induced coma. Rocco poured himself 3 fingers of whiskey from a bottle on the counter. Drank it in one swallow. Poured another. We have a problem, he said. Another one? A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Santos, one of my lieutenants, thinks I'm making a mistake.
He's been vocal about it.
Says protecting your son will destroy everything we've built. Rocco swirled the whiskey in his glass. He's not wrong. I've lost 6 men in the last 24 hours. The cartel's escalating. And the other families. He trailed off, staring into the amber liquid. What happened at the meeting? Marina asked quietly. Assassination attempt. Professional. Military-grade weapons, tactical gear. They knew exactly where we'd be, exactly when Rocco's jaw tightened. Marcus Webb is missing. We think they took him. Vincent Calabrese took 2 bullets to the chest. He'll live, but barely. David Chin escaped, but his car was found abandoned an hour later.
No body.
No blood. Marina's hands went cold. Devon's father. Yes, Rocco met her eyes. The cartel's sending a message. They can reach anyone, anywhere. So, what do we do? Before Rocco could answer, the study door burst open. Angela rushed in, her face grim. We have a situation. Santos is on the move. He took 3 men and left the compound 20 minutes ago. Rocco was on his feet instantly. Where? We tracked his phone to a warehouse in the Port District. The same district the Juarez cartel uses for. He's making a deal. Rocco's voice was ice. He's going to trade them. Marina's blood turned to water. Trade who? Rocco was already moving, grabbing his coat. You and Eli. He's going to tell them where you are. Santos stood in the abandoned warehouse, 3 of his men flanking him, and wondered if he was making the right choice. Probably not. But Rocco had lost his mind. You didn't risk everything for a debt 8 years old. You didn't throw away alliances and territory and profit for one kid who'd been stupid enough to hack a Mexican cartel. The warehouse door rolled open. 4 men entered. Cartel soldiers, heavily armed. Behind them, a man in an expensive suit. Sharp features, calculating eyes. You're Santos, the man said. Not a question. And you're Corvera's lieutenant, Santos replied. Let's skip the introductions. I have information you want. The boy's location? And the woman. Rocco's protecting them at a compound on the coast. I can give you exact coordinates, security details, shift rotations for the guards. The lieutenant smiled. In exchange for? Safe passage. For me and my men. We walk away from Valtieri, and you forget we were ever part of his organization. That's all? No money. Santos shook his head. Money's no good if I'm dead. Rocco's going to get us all killed for a blood debt that doesn't matter anymore.
I'm choosing survival.
The lieutenant pulled out his phone, typed something, then showed Santos the screen. A transfer authorization. $2 million. Consider it a signing bonus, the lieutenant said.
Now.
The coordinates. Santos rattled them off from memory. The lieutenant's smile widened. Good. My men will move at dawn. The boy dies first, then the woman, then Valtieri himself for the insult of. The gunshot was deafening. Santos's head snapped to the side. One of his own men, Frankie, who'd been with him for 5 years, lowered his weapon. "Sorry, boss," Frankie said, not sounding sorry at all. "But I took an oath." The other 2 men Santos had brought raised their guns, not at the cartel soldiers but at Santos. At their own lieutenant. Santos tried to speak, but blood filled his mouth. He hit the concrete floor, his vision blurring. The last thing he saw was Rocco Valtieri stepping out of the shadows in the back of the warehouse, a phone in his hand. "I've been recording everything," Rocco said to the cartel lieutenant. "Your authorization. The transfer. Your admission that you're planning to murder American citizens on U.S. soil." The lieutenant's face went pale. You thought Santos came alone," Rocco said softly. "You thought he was rogue. But every man in my organization knows the rule. Blood debts are sacred. The ones who came with Santos? They were mine all along." Frankie and the other 2 men now had their weapons trained on the cartel soldiers. "You have a choice," Rocco continued. "You can try to fight your way out of here. My men are outside every exit, by the way, or you can deliver a message to Ignacio Corvera." "What message?" Rocco stepped over Santos's body without looking down. "Tell him I have evidence of his financial network. Tell him I have testimony from witnesses about his operations. Tell him if anything happens to the boy, to the woman, or to anyone under my protection, every piece of evidence goes to the FBI, the DEA, and every major news outlet on the West Coast." Rocco leaned in close. "Tell him I'm willing to die for this debt." Is he willing to lose his entire empire? The warehouse was silent except for Santos's wet, rattling breathing. "Now get out," Rocco said. "Before I change my mind about letting you leave." Marina woke to the sound of her phone, ringing at 4:32 a.m. Unknown number. Her nurse instincts kicked in. Early morning calls were never good news. She answered before the second ring. "Ms. Hale?" A woman's voice, shaking. Terrified. "This is Carol Chen, Devon's mother." Marina sat bolt upright in bed. "Is Devon okay? Did something?" "They took him." Carol was crying now, the words barely coherent. "The hospital. They came into his room. The guards, the police, no one stopped them. They just walked in and took my son." Ice flooded Marina's veins. "When?" 20 minutes ago. "I want to get coffee." "I was gone for 10 minutes. When I came back, his bed was empty and there was." Her voice broke. "There was blood on the floor. Not his. One of the nurses." She tried to stop them. Marina was already moving, grabbing clothes, her hands shaking so badly she could barely pull on her jeans. "Did you call the police?" "They're here now, but they're saying it's gang-related, that they need to investigate." "Ms. Hale, they asked me about your son. They asked me about Eli." "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. I don't know anything." Carol's breathing was ragged, panicked. "But these men, the ones who took Devon, they left a message. For you." Marina's blood turned to ice. "What message?" "They said to tell you that they have Devon. That he's alive for now. That if Eli wants to see his friend again, he needs to confess what he stole and give them the access codes by noon today." Carol's voice dropped to a whisper. "Ms. Hale, what codes? What did our sons do?" Marina couldn't answer. The room was spinning. "I have to go," she managed.
"I'm sorry."
"I'm so sorry." She hung up and ran. The study was already full when Marina burst in. Rocco, Luca, Angela, and 3 other men she didn't recognize. They were gathered around a laptop, voices tense. "They took Devon Chun," Marina gasped. "From the hospital. They want Eli to confess by noon." "We know," Luca said grimly. She turned the laptop around. Security footage showed 4 men in scrubs wheeling Devon's gurney out of the hospital. Professional. Coordinated. They'd walked right past security like they belonged there. "How long have you known?"
Marina demanded.
10 minutes. Carol Chun called the police first. They called David Chun. "He called my father." "Where's David now?" Rocco's expression was dark. "In the wind. He thinks I can't protect his son. any more than I can protect yours. He's probably making his own deal with the cartel. Marina wanted to scream. So, what do we do? We can't just let them kill Devin.
We won't, Rocco said.
But we also can't give them Eli. They'll torture both boys and kill them anyway. The cartel doesn't leave witnesses. Then what? Lucas stepped forward. We give them what they want. A confession. Access codes. Everything. Marina stared at her. But Eli doesn't have. I know Lucas' smile was cold. Which is why we're going to make it up. 6 hours later, Marina sat in the back of an armored SUV, watching her son prepare to walk into a trap. The meeting place was an abandoned shipping yard 30 miles south of the compound. Rusted containers stacked like building blocks, cranes frozen mid-operation like prehistoric skeletons. The kind of place where bodies disappeared and nobody asked questions. Eli wore a wire so thin it was invisible against his skin. A GPS tracker injected under a fake mole on his shoulder blade. And in his pocket, a USB drive that Lucas' tech team had spent the morning creating, filled with enough fake access codes and encrypted nonsense to look legitimate to a cursory inspection. Mom, I'm scared. Eli's voice was small, young. He was 16. He should have been worried about his SATs, about asking someone to prom, about whether he'd get into a good college. Not this. I know, baby, Marina cupped his face. But Lucas says the FBI is in position. Rocco's men are everywhere. You're not alone. What if they kill Devin anyway? What if? Then it's not your fault, Marina said firmly. Do you hear me? Whatever happens, you did everything you could. You're so brave. So much braver than I ever was. Rocco appeared at the SUV door. It's time. Marina pulled Eli close one more time, breathing in the scent of his shampoo, memorizing the feel of him in her arms. Then she let go. Eli climbed out. Rocco walked beside him, hand on his shoulder. Remember, Rocco said quietly. Admit you accessed the server. Say you were scared, that you didn't understand what you'd found. Give them the drive. They'll plug it in to verify. That gives us 30 seconds while their system runs the authentication protocol. 30 seconds, Eli repeated. That's when you run. Straight back to this vehicle. Don't stop, don't look back. We'll handle the rest. 3 black vans pulled into the shipping yard. Doors opened. Men emerged, 8, 9, 10 of them, all armed. And in the middle, pushed forward roughly, was Devin. His face was bruised, one eye swollen shut. His hospital gown was stained with blood. But he was alive. Eli's hands clenched into fists. I can do this. I know you can, Rocco said. Then softer. Your uncle would be proud. Marina watched through binoculars as her son walked into the open space between the vehicles. As a man in an expensive suit, Corvera himself, Luca had identified him, stepped forward to meet him. As Eli's voice, tiny and crackling through the wire, echoed in the SUV. My name is Eli Hale. I'm the one who accessed your server. I'm here to confess. Ignacio Corvera was smaller than Marina expected. Maybe 5'8", slim build, expensive suit that probably cost more than her car used to. But his eyes were dead, flat and emotionless as he studied Eli like a specimen under glass. You're just a kid, Corvera said, almost surprised. Yes, sir, Eli's voice shook. Marina could hear it through the wire, could feel every tremor in her bones. And you expect me to believe that a child broke through military-grade encryption? That you compromised a system that cost us $12 million to secure? I didn't mean to, sir. I swear. I thought it was a game server. Corvera laughed. No humor in it. A game server, he turned to his men. You hear this? He thought it was a game. One of the guards shoved Devin forward. The boy stumbled, barely staying upright. His eyes met Eli's, wide, terrified, pleading. Your friend here said the same thing, Corvera continued. After we asked him nicely, and then not so nicely, he told us about the USB drive, about this dealer at your school, about how stupid you both were. He pulled out a gun, sleek, black, casual as if it were a phone. The question is, Do I believe you? Eli's hand shook as he pulled the USB drive from his pocket. I have the access codes. Everything I copied. It's all here. Please. Just let Devin go. He didn't do anything. Neither did you. Apparently, Corvera took the drive, examined it. How do I know this isn't a virus? That you're not trying to destroy our system? Test it, Eli said. Right now. I'll walk you through it. Just please. Corvera nodded to one of his men, who brought forward a laptop. He plugged in the drive. In the SUV, Marina gripped Luca's arm. What if it doesn't work? What if they can tell it's fake? It'll work, Luca whispered. For 30 seconds. That's all we need. On the screen, loading bars appeared. Authentication protocols running. The cartel's tech guy narrated what he was seeing. File structure looks right. Encryption keys are processing. Wait time is 32 seconds. 32 seconds. Eli had to stay calm for 32 seconds. Corvera's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went dark. What do you mean live stream? He snarled into the phone. In the SUV, Lucas smiled.
Now.
Marina didn't understand until she saw the drones. 3 of them, hovering at the edges of the shipping yard, far enough to be safe, but close enough to capture everything with crystal clarity. You're being recorded. Rocco's voice boomed across the yard through speakers hidden in the containers. Every word, every face. This entire meeting is streaming live to encrypted servers in 4 countries. If anything happens to those boys, the world watches. The FBI watches. Every law enforcement agency on 2 continents watches. Corvera spun, searching for the source of the voice. You think this scares me? You think. The laptop beeped. Authentication complete. The tech guy's face went pale. Sir, these aren't the real codes. This is garbage data. Random strings. He played us. Corvera's gun swung toward Eli. Run. Rocco's voice exploded through the speakers. Eli grabbed Devin, trying to pull him, but one of the guards caught Devin's arm, yanking him back. Eli stumbled forward alone, sprinting toward the SUV. Gunfire erupted. Marina screamed as bullets tore through the air around her son. Rocco's men returned fire from positions behind the containers. The entire yard had been staged, turned into a kill box, but not for Eli. For the cartel. Federal agents in tactical gear poured in from 3 sides. FBI. Homeland Security. Luca had made good on Rocco's threat. She'd brought everyone. Devin. Eli screamed, 50 feet from the SUV, turning back toward his friend. Devin was on his knees, a gun pressed to his temple. Corvera held it there, his face twisted with rage. You want him? Corvera shouted toward the drones. Come get him. Everything stopped. Federal agents frozen. Rocco's men with weapons raised but unable to fire without hitting Devin. The drones capturing every second. Marina couldn't breathe. Eli stood in the middle of the yard, torn between safety and his friend. Tears streaked his face. Please. He didn't do anything. I'm the one you want. Take me instead.
No.
Marina tried to climb out of the SUV, but Angela held her back. Noble, Corvera said. Stupid, but noble, he cocked the gun. Unfortunately for you. A shot rang out. But it wasn't Corvera who fired. The cartel boss stumbled forward, a red bloom spreading across his back. He turned, shocked, as one of his own men, the tech guy, lowered a smoking weapon. David Chin sends his regards, the tech guy said in perfect English, no accent at all. You took his son. You made this personal. Then chaos truly erupted. The tech guy, David Chen's undercover man, Marina realized grabbed Devin and ran. Cartel soldiers fired at their own people, not knowing who to trust. Federal agents surged forward. Eli sprinted the last 30 feet. Marina caught him as he dove into the SUV, holding him so tight she thought her ribs would crack. Go! Lucas screamed at the driver. The SUV peeled out, tires screaming. Through the rear window, Marina saw fire. Explosions. Bodies falling. And somewhere in the chaos, Rocco Valtieri, standing in the open, gun in hand, making sure they escaped. A sniper's bullet caught him in the chest. Marina watched him fall, watched him press a hand to the wound, watched him reach for his phone. Then they rounded a corner, and he disappeared from view. Luca's phone buzzed. She answered, listened, and her face crumbled. "Dad," she whispered. But Marina already knew from the silence on the other end. The debt of blood had been paid in full. The SUV didn't stop for 20 miles. Marina held Eli as he shook, his face buried in her shoulder, silent sobs racking his body. She didn't cry.
Couldn't.
She was numb, her mind replaying the moment Rocco fell over and over like a broken film reel. Angela drove with one hand, the other pressed to her ear, coordinating with the team still at the shipping yard. Her face was stone. Luca sat in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead, not speaking, not moving, just breathing, slow, measured breaths like she was counting them to keep from falling apart. "Status," Angela finally said into her phone. Then her jaw tightened. "Copy that. We're en route to the secondary location." She hung up, met Marina's eyes in the rearview mirror. "Rocco's alive," Angela said. "Critical but alive. They're airlifting him to a trauma center." Luca exhaled, a sound like a dam breaking. "Where?" "You can't go there. None of us can." Angela's voice was gentle but firm. "The FBI has the entire area locked down. If you show up, they'll arrest you. Your father knew the risk. He made his choice." "He's dying alone," Luca whispered. "He's dying making sure you live," Angela corrected. "Don't waste that." The SUV's phone system rang. Angela answered on speaker. A male voice filled the vehicle, calm, professional, with the careful neutrality of law enforcement. "This is Special Agent Marcus Reed, FBI. Am I speaking with Luca Valtieri?" Luca straightened, lawyer mode snapping into place even through her grief. "You are. What do you want?" "Agent Reed. We have Ignacio Corvera in custody. 7 of his men dead, 4 wounded, 3 in custody. We also recovered Devin Chin. He's being treated for his injuries, but he'll survive." Reed paused. "We have questions. A lot of them. Starting with how you knew about this meeting and why you didn't inform federal authorities before staging a vigilante operation." "I did inform you," Lucas said coolly. "I sent encrypted files to your office 6 hours before the meet. Financial records, witness testimony, everything you'd need for warrants. Convenient timing."
Strategic timing, Luca corrected.
"The Juarez cartel was planning to execute 2 American teenagers. My father prevented that." "You're welcome. Your father also started a gang war that's left 14 people dead across 3 states in 48 hours. My father honored a debt. If your agency had done its job 8 years ago, if the police hadn't buried my rescue because it was politically inconvenient, maybe we wouldn't be here." Silence on the line. Marina could hear papers rustling. "We have Devin Chen's testimony," Reed finally said. "He's talking about the USB drives. About a dealer at his school who had multiple copies of military-grade malware. We're building a case, but we need Eli Hale's cooperation." Marina's arms tightened around her son. "He's 16.
Traumatized.
He's not talking to anyone without a lawyer." "I'm his lawyer," Lucas said immediately. "And he won't be giving any statements until we have immunity agreements in writing. For him and for my father. Your father is a known organized crime figure. My father is a man who saved 2 children's lives while federal agents sat in vans waiting for permission to act," Lucas snapped. "You want a case against the Juarez cartel? I'm handing it to you. But Eli Hale and Rocco Valtieri walk."
Non negotiable.
Another pause. "I'll need to speak with my superiors." "You have 2 hours," Lucas said. "After that, every piece of evidence I have gets locked behind attorney-client privilege, and you can spend the next 5 years subpoenaing it." She hung up. Angela actually smiled. "Your father taught you well." "My father taught me to survive," Lucas said quietly. She turned to look at Marina and Eli. "The FBI will deal. They have to. Corvera alive is the biggest caller they've had in years. But they'll want everything, Every detail about the hack, about the USB, about the dealer at school. I'll tell them, Eli said, his voice hoarse. Whatever they need. Not yet. Luca pulled out her own phone. First, we leverage. She made a call. It was answered on the first ring. Mr. Corvera, Luca said sweetly. Or should I say, soon-to-be federal prisoner Corvera? I assume they've read you your rights by now. Marina couldn't hear the response, but she could imagine the venom in it. Here's what's going to happen, Luca continued. In approximately 90 minutes, the FBI will receive encrypted files containing every financial transaction your cartel has made in the last 5 years. Every shell company, every offshore account, every payment to every corrupt official, every politician, every judge you've bought. Her voice hardened. Bank records in the Caymans. Real estate holdings in Panama. The names of every distributor from Tijuana to Vancouver. She let that sink in. My father spent 3 days having his tech team crack your encryption while you were busy trying to kill a teenager. He knew this meeting was a trap. He knew he might not survive. So he made sure that if he died, your entire empire died with him. Silence. Then muffled shouting. But here's the good news, Luca said. I'm willing to negotiate. You call off every contract, every bounty, every hit you've ordered on Eli Hale, Marina Hale, and anyone connected to them. You confess to ordering Devin Chen's kidnapping. You admit everything on record, and maybe some of those financial files stay encrypted. Enough to leave your family something to rebuild with. After you spend 20 years in federal prison, of course.
More shouting.
Luca held the phone away from her ear, waited for it to stop. You have 1 hour to decide, she said. After that, I press send and the Juarez cartel becomes a case study in law school textbooks. Your choice. She hung up. Marina stared at her. Will he agree? He doesn't have a choice, Luca said. His organization is already fracturing. David Chen's mole proved their security was compromised. Other families will move in. It's over for them. She closed her eyes. My father knew it would be. That's why he did this. Not just for Eli. For all of us. Rocco Valtieri died at 3:47 p.m. in the back of a medical helicopter, somewhere over the mountains between the shipping yard and the trauma center. Marina learned about it from a text message.
Short.
Clinical. He's gone. She was sitting in a safe house 2 hours north of the compound, another of Rocco's properties, this one disguised as a vacation rental. Eli had finally fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from crying. Angela stood guard by the window. Marina's phone buzzed again. This time, a call.
Luca.
He gave me something for you, Luca said without preamble. Her voice was hollow, scraped raw. Before he left for the meeting, he said if he didn't come back, I should give it to you. Luca, I'm so. Don't. Luca's voice cracked. Please don't. Not yet. I can't break down yet. There's too much to do. What did he give you? A burner phone. With a recording. Luca paused. He made it this morning. He knew Marina. He knew he probably wouldn't survive. Marina's throat tightened. Send it to me. I'm sending it now. But Marina? There's more. Federal marshals are en route to your location. Reed agreed to the immunity deal. You and Eli are going into witness protection. New names, new lives. It's the only way to keep you safe from what's left of the cartel. What about you? Luca's laugh was bitter. I'm my father's daughter. That makes me a target for every family that hated him, every organization that fears what I know. But I'm staying. Someone has to finish what he started. That's suicide. Maybe. Luca's voice strengthened. Or maybe it's legacy. My father died for a debt of blood. The least I can do is make sure it meant something. The call ended. A moment later, an audio file arrived. Marina plugged in earbuds, hands shaking, and pressed play. Rocco's voice filled her ears.
Calm.
Measured. The same voice that had stood beside her car 2 days ago and changed everything. Ms. Hale.
Marina.
If you're hearing this, then I'm gone. And I need you to know something. Marina closed her eyes, tears spilling down her cheeks. Your brother Nathan was the bravest man I ever met. And I've met a lot of men who claimed to be brave, men who talked about honor and loyalty while they murdered and stole. But Nathan? He didn't talk. He acted. He saw my daughter in danger, and he didn't think about consequences. He didn't weigh the odds. He just moved. A pause. The sound of Rocco taking a breath. I've spent 8 years trying to repay that debt. Money, opportunities, protection from afar. I've watched over you and Eli since Nathan died. Made sure you got good shifts at the hospital. Made sure Eli's school had the resources he needed. Small things. Invisible things. Because I couldn't let Nathan's sacrifice be for nothing. Marina's hand covered her mouth. All those years when things had somehow worked out. When her applications got approved, when Eli got scholarships she thought were random. It had been Rocco. But this was the real test. When Eli needed protection, when you needed someone to stand between you and the darkness, that's when the debt came due. And I'm glad it did. Because it gave me a chance to be like your brother. To choose honor over survival. To actually mean something at the end. His voice softened. Take care of my daughter, Marina. She's going to try to fight this alone. She's stubborn like that. Like her old man. But she needs someone.
And you.
You understand what it means to lose family. You understand debts that can't be repaid. So please, don't let her fall alone. Another pause. Longer this time. Tell Eli he did nothing wrong. Tell him that sometimes the world is cruel and chaotic and teenagers get caught in wars they never asked for. But also tell him that he survived because he was brave. Because he stood up when he could have run. That's Nathan's nephew, all right. That's Hale blood. The recording quality shifted slightly. Background noise increased. Marina realized Rocco must have recorded this last part just before leaving for the shipping yard. My debt is paid, Marina. The debt of blood. Nathan saved my daughter. I saved his nephew. We're even now. And that means you're free. Free from this world, from my protection, from the danger that comes with knowing people like me. The Marshals will give you new lives.
Take them. Run.
Be safe. Be happy. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. And maybe somewhere Nathan is watching. Maybe he knows his sacrifice meant something. That his sister and his nephew get to live because he was brave one night in a parking garage. I like to think he'd be proud of that. I like to think. The recording cut off. Marina sat in silence, tears streaming down her face, the phone clutched in her hand. She thought about Nathan. About the cocky little brother who'd driven her crazy growing up, who'd insisted on becoming a cop even though their mother begged him not to. The boy who'd taught Eli to ride a bike before he died. Who'd promised to always protect his family. He'd kept that promise. Even from the grave. Through Rocco Valtieri. Through a mafia boss who'd understood honor in a way that the police and the feds and all the legitimate authorities never could. A debt of blood, paid in full. The door opened. 2 federal marshals entered, badges visible. Ms. Hale, the woman said gently. It's time. We need to move you now. Marina looked at Eli, still sleeping on the couch. Her son. Nathan's nephew. Alive because one man had refused to forget.
She stood.
We're ready. 6 weeks later. The town was called Ridgemont, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Marina didn't know exactly where. The marshals had driven them in circles for hours before arriving, making sure they couldn't trace the route back. It was small, maybe 15,000 people, surrounded by pine forests and mountains that turned purple at sunset. Their new house was modest. 3 bedrooms, a yard with overgrown grass that someone would need to mow soon. Nothing like the home they'd lost, but it was theirs. Safe. Marina Hale was now Sarah Mitchell. Eli was now James Mitchell. New birth certificates, new social security numbers, new histories carefully constructed by people who did this for a living. Sarah Mitchell was a medical transcriptionist who worked from home. James Mitchell was a high school junior who liked computers but definitely didn't hack anything. They'd moved here from Oregon after a messy divorce. Standard story. Forgettable. Marina, Sarah, stood in the kitchen unpacking boxes when her new phone buzzed. a secure messaging app the marshals had given her. Only one person had the contact information. Corvera pleaded guilty to everything. 25 to life, no parole. His organization is gone. You're safe. L. Marina typed back. How are you? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared.
Appeared again. Alive. Angry.
Grieving. Running my father's legitimate businesses and dismantling everything else. The families are adjusting. Some days I think I'll make it. Other days, I'm not sure. You have people protecting you. Dad's most loyal men. Angela. Some new faces.
I'm careful.
Marina hesitated, then typed. He'd be proud of you. I hope so. Some days I feel like I'm drowning in his shadow. Other days I feel like I'm finally understanding what he tried to teach me. About honor. About sacrifice. About knowing what's worth dying for. Marina wiped her eyes. Don't die, Luca. Please. 1 Valtieri was enough. I'm not planning on it. But if the debt of blood teaches us anything, it's that some things matter more than survival. The conversation paused. Then, how's Eli? James, I mean. Marina looked out the kitchen window. Eli James was in the backyard, laptop balanced on his knees, typing away. The marshals had set him up with a legal internship at a cybersecurity firm run by former FBI agents. Remote work, heavily monitored, teaching him to use his skills for good. He'd had nightmares for the first 3 weeks. Woke up screaming about Devon, about gunfire, about watching Rocco fall. But therapy was helping. And yesterday, Marina had heard him laugh at something on his computer. A real laugh, not the hollow sound he'd been making. He's healing, Marina typed.
Slowly.
He asks about Devon. Devon's doing better. Back home with his father. David Chin sends his regards, by the way. Says he owes you.
He doesn't owe me anything.
Debt of blood, Luca wrote. It's complicated. Marina smiled despite herself. Yeah, it is. I have to go. Meeting with lawyers. But Marina? Sarah? Whatever name you're using, thank you. For what? For not hating my father. For understanding why he did what he did. Security protocols for the firm. They want me to test their new firewall, he grinned. That same cocky grin Nathan used to have. I could break it in like 5 minutes, but I'm pretending it's harder so they feel good about their work.
Marina laughed.
That's terrible. That's business, his smile faded slightly. Mom, do you think Uncle Nathan would be mad at me? For everything that happened. Marina pulled him close. He was too big for this. Nearly 6 feet tall now, but he leaned into her anyway. Your uncle would be proud of you, she said firmly. You survived something impossible. You stayed brave when most people would have fallen apart. You protected your friend. That's all Nathan ever wanted, for the people he loved to be brave when it mattered. I got people killed.
No.
Bad people made bad choices. You were just a kid who made a mistake. There's a difference. Eli was quiet for a moment. Do you think we'll ever go back? To our real lives? This is our real life now, Marina said. Different but real. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we needed a fresh start. I miss Devon. I know. I miss her house. Me too. I even miss your terrible meatloaf. Marina swatted him. My meatloaf is not terrible. Mom, it's literally inedible. They both laughed, and for a moment it felt normal. Like they were just a mom and her son, joking on a porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. A car drove past. Marina tensed automatically, but it was just a neighbor. An elderly woman who waved. Marina waved back. We're going to be okay, Eli said quietly. Aren't we? Marina thought about Nathan. About Rocco. About all the people who died so they could sit here, safe, watching the sunset in a town nobody knew about. A debt of blood, paid in full. Yeah, she said. We're going to be okay. And for the first time since that terrible morning when she'd come home to find 20 armed men in her driveway, Marina actually believed it. The sun set. The mountains turned purple. And in a small town in the Pacific Northwest, 2 people with new names started building a life worth the sacrifice. The end.